Hey guys, I wanted to go over this setup from earlier this week. It was on AMC, and it was actually like a mid-afternoon setup for me, and I really loved it. Felt like it was an A+ setup all around. Um, I did end up trading it, and I did make a good amount on it, but um, I mainly wanted to go over it because it was such a good experience. Sort of had that. Uh, you know, see it moment. And I even kind of had that see it moment before the trade fully got away from me. And I could see it almost in real time, which is nice because a lot of times we look at a chart at the end of the day or after the trade is already done. And we're like, man, this had an amazing setup. I would have loved to have taken it here and done it here. And I love this setup. Well, this sort of happened in real time, which is the goal for all of us is to do this enough and have enough experience to where we start seeing things real time and see it, set up and build into it ahead of time. Um, so let's go over it here. This is AMC. This is a 15-minute chart, and this is going over the last 2 weeks. Overall, AMC has been in a downtrend, but then for the last week and a half, it was in a range. So this was a nice little daily range here on the 15-minute. If I go to the daily here, I'll show you what it looks like right here. I know I have a lot of lines, but and actually, I'm just going to switch it to another chart here. All right, so here's the daily chart of AMC. If you really zoom out, you can see here is a big downtrend with some moments of spiking up, especially end of March. But since then, it's been in a nice downtrend again. So here's recently what I saw out of it. So we had a bit of support right here for a day and a half, and then so right here, and then it broke down and then pulled back. And right here is where it started to create this daily range. And so to me, this $16/$16.10 was where it started to agree on as sort of resistance. So here it was support, broke through it, then retested it, and now it's resistance. And it was resistance for multiple days, and it was again on the day that I'm going to talk about, which was this day. But you can see here that it already had shown that it was respecting it on one day here, on another 2, 3, 4 days. So it had 4 days of showing it. And then a few days later, we had a nice setup here where I wanted to short it on this day. So overall, higher time frame is supporting this so far. And then I'll zoom in and show you what I was seeing on the smaller time frames. But the goal for a lot of our trades is to sort of align the thesis for all the time frames, right? We normally get in on a 1 minute or a 5-minute candle chart, but we also need to know the catalyst and the setups in the direction of the overall price action for the higher time frames, because that increases our probability and our chances, and we overall just know what kind of trade that we're in and what we're dealing with. So here on the higher time frame, generally speaking, we are more short bias. So when it comes up to hits resistance, I know that on a higher time frame, there's a lot more selling going on. And so I already have higher probability shorting this than going long. Okay, so here's the 15-minute again that I started with. So that daily range that I was going over was right here, started right here, comes down, hits 1610, does a double bottom here over a day and a half, and then breaks through it on this day, and then midday does come back up and retests it, and then from there on out, it really can't get back above it. I mean, I got above it a little bit here and here, but generally this was the level, and you can see here how it just really, even on this day, it opened, spiked up, and then from there sold off super hard down to the bottom, and then also created its bottom of the range. So these are two really good areas. From what I think is a 10 out of 10 range, 10 out of 10 levels for support and resistance. And then in terms of talking about going short on this, you can go short on this from either these two levels, shorting from resistance here or shorting the breakdown, which you can see here on Friday it did. It broke down on Thursday, came up, held it into the close, into the pre-market, held it, came up, retested it, broke through it a little bit on the opening volume, and then from there it was a nice breakdown, came up, retested it again. You could have another short there. So overall, higher time frame. We have the bigger thesis on the daily. We have the middle middle time frame thesis for these range levels, and then I want to go over what happened on the 1 minute or on the intraday. So on this day, which was May the 3rd, which was on Tuesday, we had sort of a range day so far. So if you can see here, this was the pre-market. Then for the first few hours, we had a pretty small price action range here, which then did eventually break down a little bit from there, but then held that really good higher time frame daily range support here, and then bounced from there and started coming back up to VWAP. So overall, VWAP was flat. It was in the middle. This felt like a classic typical range day where you could basically go long if price gets down to this nice higher time frame level, or go short, either at maybe the high of the day, double top later in the day, or if it comes up to this level, you'd want to go short. And so that's what happened later in the day. If you notice here, so here's where it gets interesting. Here's where things change. Because if you look at the volume here, volume was decreasing all day, okay? And then as it gets close to VWAP, it's almost the lowest of the day here around 12:30. Then we start to see price get above VWAP and then actually start making some bigger candles combined with more volume. So to me, this is a good sign because now we're getting change in character, we're getting more movement, and that's what we want. So I already have my 10 out of 10 levels established on the higher time frame and on the middle time frame. And now on an intraday, we have new volume, and it quickly increases here. So you can see it really increasing more and more. Our vol is undoubtedly increasing throughout this hour move. And what it does is it gets almost perfectly up to that daily high range of $16.10. I think it exactly got to like $16.12. And let me get rid of these. And so this very well could have been a long trade had someone gotten long somewhere down here, because volume was low. It was a rangy day. Price actually did come down to a really good higher time frame level. You could have gotten long somewhere down here with the idea of, hey, this thing is, as long as it doesn't get under this $14.70, I have a good risk reward and probability that it's going to go back up to VWAP, maybe even up to high of day. And so if you had done that, you would have gotten an awesome support all the way to daily range resistance. And so you easily could have longed this. But I think for me personally, the best trade, the A+ trade was after it reached this level here. Because there's many variables here that tell me this is a classic reversal. You have increasing volume met with a climactic exhaustion volume. I mean, this volume is 3 times as much as it was on the opening minute. That's right there is a clear sign of exhaustion. So you have the increasing volume met with the exhaustion. Okay, that exhaustion happens exactly at that higher time frame range resistance level. So that's another connection there. You also have a really good shooting star. So we love to see these really high wicks or high tails, which means, it hits that level and then immediately is hit with selling right away. So this is just a perfect candle, even on 1 minute, 5 minute, etc. It's just a textbook A plus of what you want to see if you want price to bounce at a level. And from there on, you can see volume couldn't increase until it started going down here. So this is also what you want to see, is some more volume now on the reverse end of it. Had price gotten above, had price came up and not done this, not had an exhaustion volume, but maintained this volume here around this area, around 200,000, and then it would have gotten above $16 and $16.10, and then maybe consolidated and then made a new 1 minute high, new 5 minute high. That to me would have been a breakout, which again, the odds are not as good for that because we're in a selling market. We're in a bear market. Most stocks are selling off, etc. So that's why I say that this is such an A plus setup, because you have all the time frames agreeing to short this. Higher time frame, prices going down over time. Anytime price goes up, whether you're on a daily or 1 minute, it's eventually met with selling happening way more than buying. So even if price got above here and held and we had new volume, sure, it could have been a long, but that long might not last near as long or be as clean as the short at the resistance. So again, it's all really screaming, good short potential here. So yeah, so for me, this was an A++ setup. I was willing to risk. I mean, I didn't risk my whole day, but looking back, I would have completely risked my whole day to short this bad boy at least 50 cents. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like I have the highest probability of knowing that it's at least going to go from the rejection of this $16.10 to at least this $15.50, because you had this double top here. This was probably new support now. You had VWAP up here getting closer and closer, and then you had this $0.50, 50 cent. It could have very well came all the way back down here, but I at least was confident that, hey, I can get in heavy and I'm going to partial out most at the 50 cent mark at least. I'm not going to get out of a lot until I hit 50 cents essentially. And then if it did keep going and breaks VWAP, holds underneath this high, or earlier high of day, then there might be a chance that, yeah, this might end up going to $15 and maybe even back down here. And this was just going to get another clear move back down. But you also want to look at it as this is already 2 o'clock. We only have 2 hours left in the day. Normally that last hour in the market, you don't want to be setting up a new trade necessarily at 1 p.m. You want to already be involved in it and maybe have already partialed, because you never know what can happen in that last hour, because big funds get involved and they start moving it up and down, and it's not quite as consistent. So let's go over my trade here. So here's an image. So here is my trade on AMC on that day. So I initially entered here, risking just above $16. So I wasn't risking as high as the daily level here. This dotted line was, I believe it was yesterday's high, previous day's high, and then this was that 10 out of 10 level. So I wasn't risking all that high because I was pretty confident, so I was risking lower. And then I actually wanted it to come up, so so while it was down here, I added another limit order, because as every minute that went by on this, I liked it more and more and more, and really started putting more and more things together on how perfect this was. So, so I put in another limit order here for it to come up and sort of hit this little, this support that was a new 5-minute breakdown. Wanted it to come up, retest, and then come down and basically do exactly what it did. And so it did fill me. And this one was just as heavy, and I believe that had a similar stop. So I really wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to stop. All I knew was that generally from up in this area, it was definitely going down here. So um, yeah, doing this again, I honestly was okay with it here. And then with here, I probably would have added in one more time on the break here for sort of a momentum, but then seeing it really continue with volume, I would have added in for a Momo, but then would have held most of it, maybe partial a little bit quicker, but for the most part, wanted that to be another ad for the same bigger move, just a different kind of entry. So this is more of a 5-minute breakdown entry. This is a limit order. Hey, potentially it might come back and retest, which is another legit entry. And then this is a, hopefully it flushes down with volume momentum entry. So to me, this just did everything textbook that we want to see. The climactic volume with the nice shooting star at the 10 out of 10 higher time frame level. We had the increasing volume with the climactic volume. We had a really nice 5-minute sort of consolidation and then a breakdown, which sort of started the new trend back down. We had a nice retest pullback that didn't go higher than this shoulder. And then we had the next flush, which was sort of the real move. That also was, that coincided with volume. So all of those things are exactly what you want to see on a reversal with conviction back down. So overall, I was okay with these two entries. And I did take off 25%, just wanted to pay myself, probably could have taken off less, but it was getting close to the 50-cent mark. And I knew generally somewhere around here I was going to take off most of it. I was getting a little antsy. And then, while I was down here, this was just so perfect that I did have a little bit of regret of not getting in even heavier. So I was trying to not add in, but I was trying to, I was battling myself. So I did add in. That did lower my stop, or I guess my break-even average, even though I was going to allow it to come up pretty high still, which was probably a little bit risky. I don't know if I would have let it come up this high, but I would have let it come up higher. And then, I got a little worried here, but then it did eventually come down. And then that's when I took off a lot, I think 50% here. And then it started coming up more and more. And I sort of felt like, okay, this might have been it. And then got out of almost 90% by that time. Had 10% left for a potential maybe, that bigger trend down, and got in a little bit, tried it one more time, and then I was done. So there's a lot of things that I could work on for this. I think that this is another good recycle. Try it again. Risk another 1R right here. Maybe after it comes up, makes a new 5-minute low, risking just above the swing high, something like that. Because I really didn't think that it was gonna, with an hour left, half hour left, it was gonna come up and break here. But overall, I was happy with this management. I also could have gotten in heavier. Okay, so the thing is I just came upon this setup by searching through my watch list. So that's something I can improve on. I had not seen it during this time. I really came upon it around these few minutes here. So I never saw this candle happen. So I probably should have had an alert up here. I know that I watched AMC in the pre-market. I had it on my watch list, but did tell myself that, hey, this is the level I'd rather trade it at, and it was nowhere near it. So it wasn't in play, but probably should have placed an alert up here or even a fantasy order. So that's something I could prove on because I sort of got lucky by finding this just by sort of scanning, midday, looking for things in play, and then came upon it and immediately was like, wow, this completely changed around 1:15 and volume increased. And now it's at my 10 out of 10 level. Something happened. This is now in play. So, but nothing told me that. I kind of just randomly came upon it. So that's something I can improve on is maybe having alerts at all my 10 out of 10 levels just in case it does something like this. So yeah, I just wanted to go over this A+ setup. I feel like it was just really fun to see it and trade it. And I hope I get more of these. And I think it's important to go over our A plus trades and A plus setups, and so that we can try and find them earlier and earlier and get as heavy as we can on them. So let me know if you guys have any questions. If you see any similarities with a setup of yours that is similar, or maybe, yeah, anything like that. So thanks.